Hey, welcome to the Bodies Built Better podcast. I'm your host, Jackie Tan, and I'm so happy you're joining me today. This show is all about human performance, and my goal with the podcast is really to talk with everyone who can talk about the science that backs up what human performance is, and also those who are experiencing things and can tell us about those experiences and how they are going through and getting through life's challenges. It's really important that we dive deep into all of the things that encompasses human performance, whether it is that physical training, recovery, nutrition, and on the other side of things, the energy, the emotions, the mental aspect, the psychology of performing and what that means. So for me, it's all about diving deep into all of the different aspects that it really means to perform at your best, everything that impacts us as human beings and our experience at this thing we call life. And today I'm super excited to chat with the incredible, the beautiful, the wholesome and humble and wonderful Caitlin Cady. I love chatting with her. Every time we chat, we always have really in-depth conversations, but also it's a lot of fun as well. And today we talk about being our highest self and what actually that means. And I loved this conversation because I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to me recently and how this could impact me living in my highest self. So, not that long ago, I'm not sure how many of you follow me on Instagram and saw this on my stories, but I accidentally released an episode on the podcast in which I thought was the final episode, but it was actually the draft. And it was so terrible. It's just uncut, raw, and me making mistakes and swearing and long pauses. And do you know what? If anyone listens to that, I'm pretty sure they would have gotten through like 2 minutes and then gone, this is terrible, moving on. Now, as soon as I found that out, obviously I took it down and berated myself, but went straight to how do I fix this? What do I need to do? And obviously went into the episode, edited it properly, and then re-released the final and proper episode that you should be hearing. Now, there are so many things I could be telling myself in that instance about why maybe I'm not so inclined to be doing this sort of work, or how I'm not very good at this, or how I'm a fraud, all this imposter syndrome stuff. And so I'm telling you this story because I guess there are so many experiences that we do have in life where, you know, if we let them get the better of us, it could stop us in our tracks from doing the things that we really enjoy or that could bring us our most growth. So when I spoke with Caitlin about how to be in your highest self, what actually that means, it really reinstated the fact that, yeah, whilst we make these mistakes along the way, when we show up as our highest self and are delivering all the things that we want to be sharing with the world and with others in a really genuine way, it doesn't matter of the mistakes. Yes, it's important to learn from them, which I will be double checking the future episodes that go on the podcast. But yeah, that we learn from them and continue to show up. So enjoy this epic conversation with one of my favorite people, Caitlin Cady, on becoming your highest self. Caitlin, welcome back to the Bodies Built Better podcast. You are guest hosting today. And today's episode is all about limiting beliefs and self-doubt and becoming our highest self, whatever the heck that means. So I would like to start there. I feel like that's kind of the buzzword of the spiritual world. What is our highest self in your thoughts?
Yes, in my interpretation. I think that's sort of a shorthand, right? Like words are shorthand, and that name, highest self or best self, is a shorthand. And I'm sure it means different things to different people. And I think that that's great, right? Like, so each of us has an idea of what our highest self, our best self, who that person is. To me, it's the part of yourself that is always resting in that sense of wholeness and worthiness and enoughness. That part of yourself that is without self-doubt or judgment or fear. And that's how I would frame it, because that part of ourselves is always, it's within us, right? So it's not something we need to become. It's already there. All that aspect is our true nature, I believe. And it's about uncovering that and letting that part of ourselves come to the forefront and shine, rather than this idea of like adding to, becoming something more. It's sort of the opposite of that. It's a reductive approach of like, actually it's about stripping back the layers and getting back to that essence of yourself that is already whole and worthy and wise. So that's how I would frame it. What do you think? What do you think the highest self?
I love that so much because, I mean, firstly, it feels like, the constant message is that we aren't enough and that there's all these things that we need to be doing, just like you said, adding to ourselves to be this better human. But really, that's all the shit that we need to shed. And I really love that. And you said that, the worthiness and the enoughness. And gosh, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, higher self, like when I feel in my power, and when I'm in my power, it's all of that. It's all of that.
Exactly. And that's when you do your best, right? That's when you feel your best, and when you feel like you're showing up for the world and for the people who, you're interacting with. They're getting the best of you because you're not coming from a place of reactivity or self-doubt or a lack of, like needing something from them to boost your, like all of that, all of those tricky dynamics come when we're not resting in that state of inherent wholeness and belonging.
Yeah. And so how do we start that journey of stripping back the layers? Like what have you done in the past that's worked for you?
So glad you asked, Jackie.
I'm so glad I asked.
Well, I feel like for me, I mean, I'm sure you're just shocked. Everyone's just waiting for me to say this, but meditation is critical and has been critical for me for a lot of different reasons in coming back to that place of wholeness and ease. So I think that is maybe just the best thing that anyone could do to sort of reconnect with that aspect of themselves. Why? Well, it forces you to sort of notice your thoughts, right? To engage with your thoughts as a witness and rest in that witness consciousness of, okay, so let's say for people who maybe aren't meditators yet, if you imagine, you can even close your eyes. And if you imagine that you're laying on your back and looking up at the sky, and it's a clear blue sky. And as thoughts come in to your mind, just see each of them as like a little cloud, like a thought cloud that passes through the landscape, so that you're just seeing thoughts passing through and you're not attaching to them. You're not trying to hook into them. You're just letting them go. And you're just watching them sort of sail through the clear blue sky. So if you do that for just a couple of minutes, that gives you a little bit of an experience of what I mean by witness consciousness. It's separating yourself from your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are that which is experiencing your self-thinking. Should I say that one more time? You are not your thoughts. You are that which is experiencing your self-thinking. So when you imagine the thoughts, or you could do the same thing with feelings, when you imagine them moving through that landscape, it's like you're not the cloud, you're the sky. Right? And that's such a useful metaphor that's used across many different traditions, because it gives us a really tangible metaphor to work with of like, oh, that's what it means to be in that witness state. So when we're resting in that witness state, we're not hooking into those thoughts or feelings or circumstances of our lives in the same way, right? We're not like in the cloud, riding on the cloud. We're going, oh, look, that's something that's coming through right now. And that's a challenging thought, or that's a sad thought, or maybe it's a happy thought or whatever, but you're trusting in the transience and the fact that those things are moving through you, but they're not defining you, because you are the sky. Are you with me?
Love it.
Okay. So there's that you rest in that place of not identifying with your thoughts or your feelings or your experience or your experiences. And you're resting in that place of witness, right? So you're able to then examine the thoughts, notice them, notice the tone of them, the flavor of them, how fast they come, that kind of thing. And in time, with practice, they slow down, and you can become a little bit more adept at relating to them differently, or even slowing them down. So that I think that's just like a really useful practical tool, but it also gives us a more sort of like offers a spiritual experience as well of like, ooh, I'm just the witness. Like I'm not any of these things. Like I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the feelings, I'm not the car I drive, or I'm none of that stuff. I'm just that which is like witnessing this experience. And I think that when you're resting back like that, then you can be less reactive in your life, and you can rest in this place of sort of wholeness and worthiness, right? That sense of like being connected to source, and the essence of yourself, right? So that's one aspect, but also when you kind of clear the clouds, like you clear the clutter of the mental or emotional experience, then I think you can hear your own inner wisdom, right? Like everybody's had that experience where they have had like a gut feeling or a little wisdom drop come through of going like where you already knew the answer, or you already knew what the outcome was going to be, or whatever. If you don't ever stop and let those clouds move through or settle, like how can you ever hear that? How can you ever begin to build a relationship with that inner knowing, A, and B, build a relationship of trust with it, where you're able to hear it, act on it, and go, ooh, that worked out well for me. I trusted myself. And building that sense of self-trust, I think, is one of the least talked about, but most important parts of developing a good sort of sense of self-worth and self-confidence, because otherwise we're always looking for an answer outside of ourselves.
Exactly. Huge. And when you said, what was it that you said? When thoughts are popping up, you're then able, the more you do it, the less they pop up for you. And you notice that, in the outside world, maybe that shows up, you're not reacting as easy as maybe you would in the past. And that was something that I noticed for myself when I took up meditation and a breathing practice, was that, yeah, I was able to almost sit in that feeling without reacting first.
Yes.
Which was huge. And then it allowed me to get curious as to why I wanted or have in the past reacted. You go, well, what was that about? Why would I want to say that or do that or speak in a high pitched voice like I would? So it does, it gives you that pause that you can then.
It's self-awareness too.
Yes.
Right?
Huge.
It's remarkable how many people are not self-aware. But if you don't ever do anything to make time for that relationship with yourself, what else do you think is going to happen? Because most of us are just out there consuming. We're just like we feel like we're not enough. And people are selling us that message that you're not enough. You need to do this cleanse. You need to do this fitness boot camp. You need to buy this cream for your butt. Like whatever, I mean, like, it's like, who needs butt cream? Like, I'm just like, cellulite. Come on.
Yeah.
But we're constantly being sold things that are, it's leveraging this sense of that I am not enough. And so I'm looking for things to fill that hole. So I'm buying things, I'm trying to fix myself up, and I'm trying to fill that hole within myself with more information, more like I'm just consuming information or entertainment. Or you think about our days, it's like we're just topping it up with, and also to say nothing of like perfectionism and being addicted to achievement. You think that those boxes that you're ticking on your to-do list aren't soothing some sense of lack of self-worth within you? You know what I mean? Like that's what that's about. So there's a difference between, again, like how we're approaching things, from a place of wholeness or from a place of lack.
Wow, there are so many layers there. How deep do we want to go? For me, that self-awareness piece has been huge. And one of the things that I have recently come across is personality typing through my very good friend. And when I learnt about my personality type, it was almost like oh, that's why I do that. Oh, that's why I say those things. Oh, that's why I react in that way when I interact with someone of this type. And it almost gave me it let me off the hook in some ways, which I would feel guilty. Some things I would feel guilty about. But understanding more about myself, I understood, actually, that's the part of me that I'm really good at. So whilst I'm really good at that, we can place some boundaries in which you might not feel, or you won't feel guilty about, giving so much of yourself, here on. But yeah, that self-awareness piece is another layer.
Well, even so, like the self-awareness of going, okay, are you talking about human design?
I wasn't.
No,
but,
okay.
But
okay.
I'm totally into human design.
Well, okay, let's like use that as an example, but like any kind of personality type, which I think is kind of, you could say that it's an energy type, but whatever the personality type system is that you're working within, even if it's like astrology or whatever it is. So there's the piece of self-awareness of going, okay, this is what is maybe true about me, or these traits that I have. Also, like, let me reflect on how I am engaging with the world around me and my experiences, right? And then the third piece is to go, how can I honor those parts of myself? And the honoring of the parts of yourself, it involves, almost without exception, you being able to hear yourself and act on what you hear. And then that builds that sense of self-trust. And so it's like if you could do every personality type thing in the world, but if you don't have the self-awareness and the space for silence to listen to yourself, to be able to then honor your instincts and your feelings, or, to trust yourself, then it's all worthless because you can't apply it.
Yeah.
So all of it involves listening to self and being in conversation with self. And those personality tests are amazing because they can give us insight and give us permission to go like, oh my gosh, that's why I am that way. And I can stop shaming myself about that because that's the way I'm built. But you have to be able to apply it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that those kind of insights are incredible. And there's also, even in Ayurveda, there are many skilled practitioners, which is, Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga. And there are many skilled practitioners in Ayurveda who can do pulse readings and, help you look at what your dosha is, which is, it's sort of what your constitution is. And even from that, you can move from a place of like, what do I need more of? What do I need less of to help myself thrive? Right? So all of this is about like, we want to thrive. We want to show up as our best self. We want to feel really good. And I think most of us want to do good in the world, whether that's, in work that we're doing in the outer world, or in the way that we're relating to the, environment, or in our communities, or in our families. It's all, I think most people want to do something good with their time here. And you're in a better position to be able to do that if you're in connection with that highest self, right?
Absolutely. Can we take it back to those clouds for a moment, those thoughts? If we're constantly hearing or thinking or feeling the not good thoughts, the self-doubt, those limiting beliefs, I mean, where do you start? How do you tame that?
Well, I'll tie it into that idea of being of service, like doing something good with your time, because I think that is like, this is a sort of unconventional, but I think really effective reframe, which is that, and Jackie, I'm sure you've heard me say this before, that your self-doubt serves no one, and sharing your gifts can serve many. So when you can reframe all of that negativity and that self-doubt as, who am I to judge this? Like, if you just stop judging yourself and you just go, is that what I'm here to do? To just nitpick myself and struggle against myself and try and, sort of stamp down who I am? Because that's what most of us are doing. You're too this, you're too that. Why did you say that? Why did you send the email that way? Like, that inner critic is loud and persistent, but none of that is really, in my view, your job. Your job is to share what you have to share in this lifetime and to be of service to others. And so if you think, and maybe this is a little bit too sort of like spiritual for some folks, but for me, I feel like any goodness that I am able to produce, anything magic that comes through me, like if I write a good sentence or I say something positive, or maybe for you, if you give an amazing massage, it's like, I personally have this experience of like, I was just the channel for that. Like, I was just the vehicle that came through. And there's something kind of transcendent that can happen in those moments where you don't even know how you knew that person needed you to touch them in that way, or that, you know what I mean? There's this sort of divine or magical aspect of being out in the world and sharing the gifts that you have to share. And to me, that says that like these gifts that we have are just like on loan to us for this lifetime. Right. And so if they're on loan to us, if these gifts are just like bestowed upon us to work with for this lifetime, then they're not mine to judge. I just need to be a good steward of my gifts. And also to know that like me withholding that from people or the world because I'm sitting here in a place of self-doubt is selfish. And I'm not being gracious or generous by doing that. So that reframe, which is maybe, yeah, like it's maybe a little bit sort of esoteric, but that really has helped me in my life. It's like, I don't know how long I have to be here. I've got this little toolkit I've been given. I'm just going to get out here and do stuff with it because I have no idea if this could help one person or 10 people or 1,000 people or 100,000 people. But if it could help someone, I want to offer it. And that has been a very motivating mindset for me. So I think that's one way of thinking about that, is to just be brave by remembering that you're here to be of service. What do you think about that, Jackie? Can you relate to that idea of like that like your gifts are not yours, that they're
I don't know what I think about that.
Or does the cynic in you go, ooh, nah?
I'm not sure because I think I believe we're all here with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that purpose can be, whether it is you know, a service, massage, meditation, or it could be maybe your purpose is actually to find yourself in this life. Maybe it is just to experience joy, and through that joy, others experience joy through you. But when I think about what you've said, and I bring it back to me and through massage, yeah, like there's many times where I've thought, I don't know why I'm doing this particular, technique and in this particular area, but I feel like this is where I need to be. So I've certainly experienced that. And so, you could, whether that's, gut feeling, intuition, or a higher power, I'm open to it all, and I'll just do keep doing what I need to do. But then I go, but, I'm not going to be doing this forever. So then what are you giving me next? How do I serve next after this?
Yeah. But it's not even that it's like specific to you, providing a literal service.
Sure.
Just like you being the essence of
yes.
you being delightful, insightful Jackie Tan is like, that's enough. Like, that's it, right? Like, we don't have to define it as like, my purpose is here to be a this or a that label, right? It's just like to be the most you version of you.
Yeah.
As possible, because that combination of things that are natural to you, and that come easily to you, that has a way of touching people and connecting with people that is unique to you. Right? So if you're sitting there doubting yourself and trying to be something other than you, then you're not able to sort of like have the impact in the world that you could have if you were honoring all those parts of yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. Another thing is just to like observe that self-doubt through another lens, which is just that something I noticed is that every time the voice of self-doubt would get loud, I was always about to do some hot shit, like without fail. It's like the voice of self-doubt, the inner critic, like sees something like super cool on the horizon for you, and it's like, ooh, I'm gonna crank up the volume to 10. And so over time, I noticed through being able to sort of like observe that and have that self-awareness, I started noticing like, this is super interesting. Like, old self-doubt sis rocks up like every single time that I'm about to kind of break through or try something new or do something that I've never done before. And I started to go, oh, well, that's interesting, because when I can sort of turn down the volume on her, rude little spiel and just go, oh, maybe that's a good sign because she's showing up. So now I know when the voice of self-doubt shows up, and I also speak about this as resistance, then I just know I'm onto something. So I don't see it as a red light anymore. I see it as a green light. And I'm like, ooh, that is the direction that we're going in. The direction that I'm resisting is the direction that I'm going in, because I think that's the pathway to put my full potential. And I don't want to act from a place of fear and what if. I want to go, I'm going for it, and I'm gonna see what happens. And it's honestly never failed me. Does it mean I have no self-doubt anymore? Absolutely not. Like, it's a dance that you do, I think, for your entire human experience is to dance with that self-doubt. So I think that's another thing that's important to mention, is like, anybody who tells you they have no self-doubt is probably lying. It's about how you're going to relate to that voice, and whether you're going to use it to keep you small or to spur you on to what adventure is waiting for you. So you got to reframe it and interpret it differently. So when your self-doubt is like, you can't do that, who are you to do that, you're shit, then you're like, I'm sorry, what did you say? You said that I'm really onto something and that I'm about to just like explode into the next layer of possibility for myself. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's helped me.
Yeah. And that's one that's helped. I mean, so frequently, as something, a huge opportunity comes along, I'm not good enough for that. I don't know enough. I haven't got enough experience.
Yep.
All that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's like, it's none of your business.
But also, like, is it true? Is any of it actually true? And it's something that I ask myself, like, do you have enough experience? Well, actually, yeah, I'm nearly 17 years. I guess that quantifies as enough.
Yeah.
Enough knowledge,
Yeah.
So even getting curious about, like, what is this self-doubt? Like, where does it come from? What is the story connected to the words of that doubt? And is that something that you've created because you're scared? Right. Or is it something that's happened and it's actually, you just need to go back in time, and whatever happened, it happened, and you learned from it. And actually you're a better person, you're a more knowledgeable person than you were when you made, whether you call it a mistake or you were in the process of learning.
Yeah. Well, or even if it's a message that someone told you when you were a kid.
Exactly.
Because I think a lot of that dialogue does come from messages that we were given as kids, and they weren't necessarily messages that were intended to like hurt us or hold us back, but they can have a lot of impact with repetition, right? Yeah. They become a well-worn groove in our mind that we're like, that's our default. That's what we go to. So I think it's such an important thing you've pointed out, is like, is it true? And is it mine?
Yes.
So, but again, that takes, self-awareness. You got to be able to reflect on that and see it and separate yourself from it and go, that cloud does not belong to me. That's not even my thought cloud. That's someone else's, right? Maybe it's your mom's or your third grade teachers, or who knows. But so often there are these things that we've carried forward with us, and we have to sometimes go, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
So great point, Jackie.
So I'm going to say, 3 practices. What do you live every day? 3 practices to help you become your highest self. And I could guess one of them. I think
I'm consistent, aren't I?
Consistency is key to everything.
Yeah. People are like, I have this problem. I'm like, meditate. They're like, I have this problem. Meditate. That being said, I do think that, like, all of these practices are prescriptive so that you can apply this whole idea of knowing yourself and the personality typing. You can bring that knowledge with you into the practices that you're selecting for yourself. So if you know that you need to balance this aspect, or you need more of this or that, that's part of what I love about studying in the tradition of Tantra and the Himalayan tradition, and in Hatha Yoga, is that it's like it gives you a whole toolkit to choose from, to go, what do I need to, like, what's the outcome that I'm trying to create? What am I trying to rebalance? And so there are different techniques that you can use to generate different outcomes. And that allows you, I think, a sense of agency, that you are able to create positive change within yourself, rather than, I think when people think of meditation, they think it's like there's kind of like maybe 1 to 5 different options that you have, when in reality, there's so many different traditions and so many different variations within each tradition that are available. So I also just want to say that, because I think if you've tried meditation in the past and it was not your jam, like, consider circling back, because it really is a tool that can be so flexible, and that you can use in different ways depending on what you would like to generate from that practice. So yes, meditation is definitely on my list, but in general, I would just say stillness and silence together. And that is, again, giving yourself the space to actually be in conversation with your highest self, to hear yourself, to clear the mind and hear yourself. Gratitude, so important in setting up a positive mindset. And, that's been scientifically proven many, many, many times now. It's a really simple but powerful thing that you can do that is really going to create an impact on your mindset for the day ahead. And I think that anytime that we can feel grateful, we are just attuning ourselves to choosing to see things through a more positive lens, right? I mean, some people would say, you're putting a vibration out there and that you're attracting more of that. So if that resonates for you, then that might be true. And if that doesn't resonate for you, it could just be that, like, you're just choosing a more positive mindset. And that scientifically is proven to help people feel happier. And then I think reflection is super important. So that's that self-awareness piece, right? Is whether you're journaling or, if you have some other kind of practice, creative practice, painting or drawing, or I don't know. But for me, I think that reflecting and journaling is a very helpful tool for me for that, of just being able to process and digest what has happened, how I feel about it, and to find a sense of clarity through that. That helps me unburden myself of things and to digest them fully, and then go, okay, cool. Like, here's the gem out of that experience. Here's the takeaway. And now I'm free to move forward, and I'm not carrying all of that clutter with me. So I think really all of those things are like forms of alchemy, right? Transforming your own experience and transforming your mindset, transforming the inner landscape of your mind, transforming your experiences in life into something that you can carry forward that's useful, and letting the rest go. I think those are 3 things that are worth doing every day.
I think they're the most perfect 3 things to be practicing every day. And I'm going to add one more thing to them.
Yes, please.
Practicing kindness.
Oh, yes.
Kindness to yourself and to others.
Yeah.
I feel like that has, the same qualities of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's that self-fulfilling thing of, being kind to others feels good. And, we're so often we neglect to be kind to ourselves. And when we have really beautiful thoughts, or when we can look in the mirror and smile, that it changes, the chemistry and our physiology, and it makes changes. And I think that's really important too, kindness to yourself.
It's so important. I think that you can only be as kind to others as you can be to yourself, right? So you've really got to start with you and bring compassion and forgiveness to your relationship with yourself. And then it's easy to offer that to other people. But when we're being hard on ourselves, we're just naturally going to take that posture with the world around us. Such an important one. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, as always, Caitlin, for chatting with me and being so awesome. Love having you on.
Likewise, always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That was Caitlin Cady. Tell me, are you living in your higher self? Are you doing everything that, in a way that makes you feel good, that is serving others, but you're empowered and you feel good? Do you look back over your experiences and interactions, and are you really proud of them? And do you know what? If you're not, that's okay too. But it's nice to know that you've identified, if you are or aren't, and then what steps and actions to take next, because you deserve to be showing up as your truest self and enjoying the life that you live in a way that feels good for you. And when you are your highest self, I think we do that. So I love this conversation. Please tell me your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking, how you're feeling about showing up, how you're feeling about maybe the stories that you're telling yourself that maybe do hold you back, because we all have those stories, and we all have the little voice in our head that says the not so nice things. So get in touch, because I would love to know how you are getting through it, and what you do to show up every day as your best self. If you loved this episode, I would so appreciate you sharing this with your friends and leaving a review, because those are the things that really help this show grow. So I appreciate you and your time and you tuning into this show today. Thank you so much. Have the best day, week, month, and year, and we'll catch you next time.